The boardroom was silent, except for the ticking of an old clock mounted on the wall. I sat at the long glass table, my fingers loosely clasped, my face calm. But beneath that calm surface, my stomach was in knots. For the past year, I have given everything to bring this company back from the edge. It was sinking when I found it, and I had poured my energy into saving it. Late nights, weekends, crashes, rewrites, all of it, and now I was called into a special recognition meeting. That should have been my first warning. Then I saw Gregory, slouched next to me, casually spinning a pen like he hadn't spent the last year coasting. No overtime, no breakthroughs, just barely doing enough and grabbing credit whenever he could. "Thank you both for coming," said Mr. Brown, our CEO, as he stood at the head of the table. His smile was polite but cold. "Jessica," he said, turning to me, "you've been an incredible asset during this transition." I nodded, silent and controlled. "You took a broken process and made it efficient, faster, scalable. That AI logistics system you built transformed everything. Profits this quarter are up 415%. That's historic. Thank you," I said simply. It wasn't false modesty. I knew what I had done. Every bug I fixed at 3 a.m., every time I personally brought a crash server back to life, it all led to this moment. Brown gave a tight laugh and turned to Gregory. "And Gregory," he said, "your leadership potential has started to shine." My smile froze. Leadership potential? This was the guy who once confused a database with a spreadsheet. Brown kept going. "Starting next week, Gregory will be our new director of AI operations." I blinked. I heard the words, but they didn't land. That was my role. My team. My creation. "Wait," I said, voice calm but quiet. "You're promoting Gregory?" Brown raised a hand, trying to soften the blow. "Jessica, you're brilliant. No one doubts that. But leadership isn't just about building things. It's about confidence, charisma, presence. We need someone who can represent us to investors. Someone who looks the part." I finished for him. He shrugged, unapologetic. "Business is perception." Gregory grinned, finally sitting upright. "No hard feelings, Jessica. I'll still need your brain, of course. Now you can focus on what you're best at, tech." Then it happened. Brown reached into his blazer, pulled out his wallet, and tossed a wrinkled $71 bill onto the table. "For your effort," he said. "Consider it a token of appreciation." The room tilted. $71 for building an AI system that turned a dying company into a $330 million powerhouse. I looked at the bill, then at Brown, then at Gregory, who was already texting under the table, probably planning his next golf weekend. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. Instead, I calmly picked up the bill, folded it with care, and slid it into my pocket. "Thank you," I said quietly. Brown looked puzzled. "You're not upset?" I smiled. "No. I'm just excusing myself." Then I stood up. My heels echoed across the polished floor. I walked out without looking back. No dramatic exit, no speech. Just silence. Because what they didn't know was this. I wasn't broken. I wasn't humiliated. I was just done playing small. They mistook my quiet for weakness. But silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. The next morning, I showed up at the office at 8:30 a.m. The front desk guard raised an eyebrow. "Didn't expect to see you today, Jessica." I gave him a small smile. Just a habit, I guess. But the truth? I came back for one reason, to see it all one last time. The system I built, the team I nurtured, and the legacy I created. Because when something's about to collapse, you study the cracks and then you walk away, ready to build something better. Somewhere else, on your terms, as I stepped into the elevator, I caught my reflection in the mirrored wall. I looked calm, hair tidy, eyes tired but sharp. You wouldn't have guessed I'd just been handed a slap in the face disguised as a wrinkled $71 bill. The elevator doors opened to the third floor, my floor. Or at least it used to be. My office door was wide open. Boxes were already stacked outside, labeled with my name in thick black marker. Inside, Gregory was lounging at my desk like it had always been his. Feet up, a coffee mug with his name on it sitting next to my monitor, The same one I paid for myself, because IT said there was no budget for upgrades. "Oh hey," he said when he noticed me. "Didn't expect you to come in." I didn't answer right away. I just walked in slowly, like I still owned the place. For a second, I saw something shift in his face, like maybe he wasn't so confident after all. He sat up straighter. "I just came to grab my things," I said, motioning to the boxes.
Right.
"Of course." Gregory cleared his throat. "Listen, I hope there's no hard feelings. You're still part of the team. Just in a different role now." "Different role?" I raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, Brown's putting you on a special project. Something about updating legacy systems for support. Should be fun. Lots of back-end cleanup." Back-end cleanup. I almost laughed. I had just built the most advanced AI logistics platform in the industry, and now they wanted me to fix broken printers and clean up old spreadsheets. "Sounds perfect," I said, dry as dust. He didn't even catch the sarcasm. I walked through the hallway with the boxes in my arms. A few people looked at me, then quickly looked away. No one said a word. No goodbye. No thank you. Funny how fast people forget the one who kept everything from falling apart. Eventually, I reached the far corner of the building, the support department. It felt like an abandoned closet. A broken chair, a blinking monitor, and a desk covered in tangled cables and dust. I sat down slowly, staring at the mess like it was some kind of joke. But I wasn't angry, not yet. I was planning, because what no one knew, not Gregory, not Brown, not even IT, was that the version of the software the company had wasn't the full version. The real system, the powerful one, lived elsewhere, on a private, encrypted server only I could access. What they had was good. What I had was game-changing. So, I sat at that dusty little desk while Gregory stood in front of the staff giving some cheesy speech about new leadership and scaling success. I pulled out a notepad, not to write code, to sketch out strategy. By lunchtime, I had made up my mind. If they didn't want me here, that was fine. I wouldn't argue. I wouldn't beg. But I also wasn't about to let them profit off my work while pretending I never mattered. They wanted a leader? I'd become one. Just not here. That afternoon, I sent out 5 quiet messages, private, intentional, and one to Anna, our former CMO, who left after they gutted her budget even though she tripled our leads. One to Henry, our old infrastructure lead, who quit after Gregory nearly erased 5 months of analytics data trying to override a server upgrade. And one to Mary, the only other engineer who understood what I had built. None of them replied right away, but I knew they would. Like me, they were underestimated, passed over, ignored. We weren't failures, we were visionaries, just written into the wrong chapter of someone else's story. But that was about to change. I looked out the office window. The city skyline stretched far and wide. The company I had once saved was heading for another crash. But this time, I wouldn't be there to stop it, and I wouldn't need to, because I was already building something better. I wasn't looking back. I was building forward, and when I finished, they'd remember the woman they dismissed for a crumpled $71 bill, and wish they hadn't. By the end of that same week, I had heard from all 5. Anna replied first. "I've been waiting for this. Just tell me where and when." Then Henry. "If this is what I think it is, I'm in. No questions." And finally Mary. "Still have your prototype. Still think it's the future. Let's build." 5 short messages. 2 open doors. We met on a quiet Sunday afternoon at a small industrial-style cafe tucked away on the east side of the city. No laptops. No business suits. Just 5 people sitting in a corner booth, sipping overpriced coffee. From the outside, we looked like old friends catching up. But what we were doing was something far bigger. We were laying the foundation for a new future. "I still can't believe they passed you over," Anna said, stirring her tea like she was trying not to break the spoon. "You didn't just keep that company running, Jessica. You made them dominant." "Doesn't matter," I said. "They gave me $50 and told me to fix printers. That's all the thanks I got." Henry gave a low whistle. "You know what Gregory told me before I left? Some people just look like they know what they're doing." He rolled his eyes. "Typical," Mary muttered. But we're not here to complain, are we? No, I said and pulled a small leather folder from my bag. Inside was the blueprint, not just for software, but for an entire company. A new kind of logistics system. Not just fast or smart, but predictive. AI that could anticipate inventory changes, redirect shipping in real time, optimize procurement, and even track carbon output. And all of it wrapped in a clean, modular system that could plug into any mid-sized supply chain with ease. Henry's eyebrows shot up. You've been busy. I never stopped, I said. I knew one day they'd try to claim it. That's why the real version never touched their servers. Is this legal? Anna asked. She wasn't against it, just careful. I started building the base before I even joined them, I said. The IP is mine. What they have is outdated. They only got rights to what I deployed, not this. Mary smiled. Then let's give the world what they never deserved. We didn't have investors. No fancy offices. No big checks. But we had something better: experience, talent, drive, and a product that could transform the entire industry. We started in my apartment. Later, we moved to Anna's garage. Henry set up an old server rack to get us running. We coded all night. We ate fast food like we were back in college. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real, and slowly, something incredible came to life. We called it Nucleus, a smarter, faster, cleaner AI for modern logistics. It didn't just crunch numbers. It anticipated needs. It predicted shortages. It rerouted delays and gave clients real-time alternatives that saved money and time. By the end of our first month, we had a working demo. By the second, we had our first client, a mid-sized global warehouse chain desperate to replace their old Johnson system. When we named our price, they didn't blink. We launched Nucleus by week 7. Within 50 hours, their operations were running 30% faster. But it was week 9 that changed everything. A headline hit the industry wire. Johnson Systems faces major client losses after software breakdown. I recognized the names in the article. 6 of their biggest clients, the same ones I had brought in during my time rebuilding their systems, were leaving, and they were now in talks with us. Apparently, Gregory had tried to optimize some back-end modules. In the process, he broke the load distribution algorithm, which caused massive delivery delays. They patched the system later, but the damage was done. The cracks were showing, and the industry was watching. That morning, I sat quietly at my temporary desk inside Johnson, sipping my coffee, while chaos unfolded around me. Emails flew. Executives rushed into closed-door meetings. Whispers of someone being fired soon floated through the halls. I didn't say a word, because I didn't have to. I had already built what came next. While Johnson scrambled to hold on to the present, we were already building the future. That night, I walked into our shared workspace. Henry was deep in the server code, and Anna was polishing the final draft of our pitch deck. The room buzzed with quiet focus and determination. I took a steady breath. Next week, I said, we go public. Mary looked up from her laptop. Press release? Press release. Full brand launch. Demo video, everything, I said. Bold, Henry replied, grinning. Necessary, I answered. It's time they saw what real leadership looks like. It's time they remembered the name they tried to bury. Because Johnson didn't just overlook me, they underestimated me, and that would be their last mistake. When the press release dropped, the internet lit up. The headline hit hard. Engineer behind Johnson's $330 million turnaround launches new AI startup, and it's already shaking the industry. It had everything: betrayal, comeback, a quiet force dismissed with a $71 bill who built something bigger in return. Within hours, the story spread across LinkedIn, tech news sites, and industry blogs. By noon, our inbox was overflowing. We've been searching for a solution like this. Can we talk? Is it true your system reduced error rates by 91%? We need this. ASAP. Meanwhile, back at Johnson, something strange began to happen. The same coworkers who once avoided eye contact in the halls now nodded politely. Some even smiled. I could feel their curiosity. Was it true? Did Jessica build it? If she did, Then what is she doing down in support? At 3 p.m., Gregory called an emergency meeting. He stood at the front of the conference room, noticeably pale, tapping a marker against the whiteboard like it could drown out the tension. So, this whole thing with Jessica's startup, he began, forcing a laugh. It's being blown out of proportion. Just hype. Nothing we can't match. No one said a word. We're still the leaders in this space, he insisted. We have the infrastructure, the brand, the legacy. One flashy tool doesn't change that. I sat in the back, silent. He didn't look at me once, but others did. And in their eyes, I saw it, realization. They remembered who stayed late, who fixed the bugs, who mapped the architecture, who launched the pilot system that pulled Johnson out of the fire. It wasn't Gregory, it was me. That same afternoon, Anna scheduled a product demo with one of Johnson's oldest and biggest clients, a major food logistics company handling over 510,000 shipments a week. The CTO called us directly. We heard Jessica's the one behind this, he said. She's the reason we stayed with Johnson as long as we did. But now, we're ready to follow the real talent. I didn't smile, though I wanted to. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about truth. Gregory scrambled to contain the fallout. He sent emails to clients, hosted a transparency webinar, and tried to explain their AI system using vague, meaningless buzzwords. Henry watched the stream and shook his head. He doesn't even know how the logic layers work. Of course not, Mary said. He was too busy charming investors while we were building neural networks from scratch. The next day, 6 more clients left Johnson. 2 signed with us immediately. The third said they were still exploring options, which meant they were waiting to see if the rumors were real. So, we showed them. Anna worked with a videographer to create a clean, powerful product reel. Real data, real results, real client impact. We featured testimonials from our early adopters, showing exactly how much time and money Nucleus had saved them. The video launched Wednesday morning. By Wednesday night, it had 110,000 views, and then came the moment we didn't even have to engineer, the investor call. Every quarter, Johnson hosted a financial update for stakeholders. This one was supposed to celebrate the end of a successful year, the year I had personally carried. Instead, it turned into a disaster. The first slide showed client retention plummeting. The next revealed an 18% dip in revenue, despite overall market growth. When they opened the Q&A, someone finally asked what everyone was thinking. Is it true your former engineer, Jessica Martin, created the AI system that saved this company? For a second, Brown's face on the screen froze. Just one beat too long. Then, he forced a tight smile. Jessica contributed to the early models, he said carefully. But the system belongs to us. It was meant to sound confident. But everyone watching could hear what he wasn't saying. And more importantly, they could see who the real visionary was and who was just standing in her shadow. Why is she outperforming you with less? That question hung in the air like smoke. No one answered. Just silence. Then, the call ended, abruptly, awkwardly. By Thursday morning, Johnson's stock had dropped 10%. Anna messaged me. It's beginning. I sat at my desk, watching my inbox flooded with emails, offers for partnerships, press requests, event invitations. And then my eyes landed on my screensaver, a quiet photo of our team from the first week. We looked exhausted but hopeful. Back then, we didn't have a single dollar. Now, we were the ones setting the standard. The $71 bill they once handed me was still in my drawer, perfectly folded, untouched. It didn't remind me of failure. It reminded me of clarity. They paid me $50 to build their future. Now, I was building my own. By the start of the next quarter, Johnson Enterprises was in free fall, and the industry could smell the blood. Clients weren't just walking away. They were running. Online forums lit up with complaints, system delays, broken reroutes, inconsistent data, major downtime. The same problems our AI had once eliminated had returned, stronger than ever. Their support team, the very one I was once demoted to, was drowning in tickets. And Gregory? He was still showing up, but the swagger was gone. His tie was loose, his smile forced, and panic was starting to creep into his voice. The final blow came on a Monday morning. Johnson's biggest distribution partner, one of the top 5 in North America, announced they were switching to Nucleus. We didn't even pitch them. They came to us. "We're done with patchwork solutions," their CEO told Anna over the phone. "We want the original mind behind the innovation. We want Jessica." That single deal was worth $40 million a year, and it was the final nail in Johnson's coffin. The same company that once showed off my work like it was their miracle was now collapsing because they refused to protect what mattered. Inside, it was chaos. Brown had vanished. Whispers suggested he was stepping down. The board was in a panic, scrambling to figure out how they lost a $330 million rebound in under a year. And the irony? Every broken promise, every failed pitch, every lost client could be traced back to one thing. The day they gave me $71, later that afternoon, an email arrived from an anonymous sender. No greeting, no name, just one sentence. "They want to talk." I forwarded it to Anna. Her response came immediately. "Don't go. Make them come to you." The next day, the official invite landed in my inbox. Subject: Strategic Partnership Discussion from Mason Brown. Time: Friday, 9 a.m. Location: Quantum Systems HQ. Attendees: Mason Brown, Gregory Davis. I leaned back in my chair. Quantum Systems HQ. My company. My rules. Henry noticed the invite pop up on our shared calendar and grinned. Should we prep snacks or just bring popcorn? Friday came quickly. I dressed in all black, not for theatrics, but for focus. A sharp, tailored suit. No logos. No distractions. Just presence. They arrived exactly on time. Brown looked older, or maybe just defeated. Gregory followed behind, already sweating. I welcomed them into our boardroom. Behind me, the quantum logo shimmered proudly across the glass wall. "Gentlemen," I said, motioning for them to sit. They didn't speak at first, too busy soaking in the atmosphere. The clean lines, the calm energy, the hum of focused work. This was what I had built, without them. Brown cleared his throat. "Thank you for meeting with us." I gave a polite nod. "You ask," he began cautiously. "We believe there's an opportunity to realign, share technology, possibly collaborate." I let the silence speak for me. Gregory jumped in too fast, too eager. "Look, Jessica, everyone knows you're doing incredible things. But Johnson still has brand value. Infrastructure. Reach." He was still talking. Still, trying to sell what no one was buying, and I was already ahead. "You've burned through investor trust," I said. "Your last update broke thousands of delivery chains. 5 major companies called you out publicly." Gregory looked nervous. Brown stepped in. "We're offering you a top position. Full control of the AI division. Good pay. Real leadership." I raised an eyebrow. "So, you want me to fix your mess again, while you take the credit?" Brown shook his head. "This time is different." I leaned in slightly.
Calm. Direct.
"You came here thinking I'd be desperate, that I'd take whatever you gave me. You were wrong." I stood up. "I'm not here to rejoin Johnson. I'm here to end it." I slid a folder across the table. "Quantum Systems is buying everything: your assets, tech, and name. You walk away quietly. Johnson disappears." They stared at me in shock. "You're buying us out?" Gregory asked. "No," I said. "I'm giving you a way out before the market crushes you." Brown nodded slowly. "I'll take it to the board." As they left, Gregory turned back. "You're erasing everything we built." I smiled slightly. "You didn't build it. I did. And I'm keeping it without you." The deal closed quietly. No press. Just a legal filing. Quantum Systems acquires all Johnson assets and technology. The Nucleus replaced everything. Market share jumped to 55%, then 61%. Quantum went from underdog to leader in less than a year. It should have felt like revenge. But instead, I felt peace. Because I hadn't just proved them wrong. I had proved myself right. Weeks later, working late, my assistant buzzed in. "Jessica, someone's here. Says it's urgent."
Who?
A pause. "He says he's your father." I stepped into the hall. There he was, older, softer, same gray suit. "Hi, Jessica," he said. "Dad." He nodded. "I heard about everything." "It's done," I said. He looked at me quietly. "You always had more fights than anyone knew." I had underestimated him. I should have known better. When he mentioned my mother, his voice cracked just a little. Something in my chest tightened. She had passed away just months before everything fell apart, before the company crumbled and I started over. She never got to see what I built. "She would have been proud," he said gently, almost like he could hear my thoughts. I let out a slow breath. "Why are you here, Dad?" He shifted uncomfortably. "I came to say congratulations. And
I'm sorry.
sorry for not believing in you, for thinking success had to look or sound a certain way. I thought you needed our approval, but you never did." I studied him, the man who had taught me to think like an engineer, but never imagined I could lead like a visionary. The man who taught me to fix things, but never showed me how to believe in myself, and yet here he was, apologizing. For the first time in my life, I gave him a small nod. "Thank you." He looked surprised. Maybe he expected anger. Maybe he thought I'd throw it all back in his face. But I did not need to prove anything anymore. I had built something real. Not because someone gave me a head start, but because they didn't. We stood in silence for a moment. Then I turned back toward my office. I should get back. We're reviewing a $150 million rollout this week. He gave a faint smile. "I'll let you go. I just wanted to see you here, standing where you belong." I didn't say anything else. I just walked away, tall, quiet, steady, because that was enough. The next day, Quantum Systems held its annual leadership summit, our first as a major player in the industry. The grand hall was filled with CEOs, CTOs, and innovators from all over the world. I stood at the podium, the stage lights warm against my skin. Hundreds of eyes watched me, but I wasn't nervous. I wasn't chasing anyone's approval anymore. I was there because I had earned it. As I reached the end of my keynote, I paused before clicking on the last slide. "There's one thing I want to leave you with," I said. "When people underestimate you, let them. When they hand you $71 and call it a thank you, don't take it as a reward. Take it as a receipt." The room filled with laughter and applause. I smiled, because when the world tells you what you're worth, prove them wrong. Build something they can't ignore. And when they finally see you standing on top of what they tried to bury you under, just smile and get back to work. As I walked off the stage, something in me changed. This wasn't a finish line. It wasn't even the height of the journey. It was the start of something bigger. A legacy built not from anger, but from determination. The beginning of a story about a woman who took $71 and turned it into something unstoppable, an empire.